Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammam sangham namasami. So welcome again everybody. It's really lovely to see you all, both here in the monastery and also online. Welcome. Had an amazing day today. We went to all the different lakes up in the mountains and saw the big waterfall at the natural bridge, and lots of snow and lots of ice, lots of water element, and very powerful, the natural bridge, the energy of that water flowing, the sound of the water. Wow. It's been an amazing day. It's amazing nature in this part of the world, and so awesome. I was so full of awe. Yoho, I learned, was the word for awe in the native language. Yoho, I really like that. It says it for me. It was a yoho experience. And really, really awesome. So it leaves me feeling very, I feel very quietened by that, very, whoa, just the magnificence of nature, the power and it's beyond words really, isn't it? Those mountains towering above us, and they're towering above us all the time. And I find that really something in this town also. Every time I go for a walk, there they are. And they're beyond their names, and just this, in a way, lasting quality for me. Like they change. I mean, things are changing, but they look so solid and they seem so lasting. And long after we've all gone and the human race has gone, they'll still be there. And I find that quite comforting in a strange sort of way. It's really amazing. It's really amazing. I did a pilgrimage years ago, actually back in 2019, just before the pandemic, around Mount Kailash in Tibet. And it was really a very powerful experience. 4 days. 4 days of walking, 3 days of walking and 1 day of just resting in the middle. It was very high altitude, very slow progress, because we couldn't breathe. Tibetans are running around and no problem, but we foreigners were really struggling. It was very... part of the pilgrimage, there are different stages, and one of the stages is the stage of contemplating one's own death, and you're invited really to bring something really precious to you and to just leave it there and let it go, and let that be a symbol for your own the loss of everything that we have, everything in death. And it's really easy to take it very seriously because you feel as if you're dying, anyway. Because of the lack of oxygen. And I started walking, going kind of 10 paces, and then I'd have to stop and I'd be gasping for breath for about a minute, feeling really terrible. And I kept doing that. I mean, for the first day I was doing that. And then one of the guides advised me, he said, you just have to slow down. Don't try and walk at a normal pace, but actually go very, very slowly and really like slow motion. And then it was bearable, it was okay, but it was really interesting. So it was like being on the verge of death, and then it was like being really old and decrepit, not being able to, walk at any speed at all, just tottering along. So the whole thing was very helpful in terms of these reflections we were just hearing at the beginning of our meeting from Ajahn Seno. I am of the nature to age, I am of the nature to die. And somehow being here and going up, especially today, up into the snow and the rather wild, a little bit wild weather, up at Lake Louise and huge mountains all around, it just brought back to me in a way our fragility and our mortality, because we're so tiny, and there we are scuttling about, taking selfies and moving around like little ants or something on a giant anthill, and have a sense of perspective. What is this life really? So short, so fleeting. What's the point of it all, and how significant really is it? And I think these questions often actually come up for us, don't they, when we're seeking meaning in our lives. And I'm so happy actually to have a sense of meaning through the teachings of the Buddha. And I discovered the sense of meaning through the coming in contact with the Buddha's teachings, and through meditation practice. So something like coming home, this mountain here, this piece of nature, this is the piece of nature that we can really investigate and learn about, and see how the relationship between the physical form and the mental realm, how that operates. And recognising also, for me, a big part of the Buddha's teachings that really made sense of all the confusion around, why things happen the way they do around in the world around us. I found the answers in the Buddha's teaching, in his teachings on the laws of karma, cause and effect. And then a sense of, well, actually, we do have a certain agency. It's actually quite important. What we do, what we say and what we think is really important. It's really meaningful, it's significant. And not for personal reasons even, but just because it's almost like there's a field of cause and effect. And if we can put in, peace and well-being and kindness, and like the Ten Paramis chant that we were just listening to, so beautiful. These qualities, the parami, the virtues. There's something that can be done here. We can develop these. We can actually put energy. One of the virtues is energy, isn't it? Put energy, and determination is another. Put energy and determination into developing good qualities, and recognising that, as the Buddha said, we can immediately feel the benefit here and now when we do that. There's a kind of ease, if not joy, if not happiness. There's ease and relaxation there when we actually know in ourselves what's wholesome and what's unwholesome. We really do, but sometimes we can get a bit confused, and then it's helpful to take in the Dharma teachings and refine our understanding of what's wholesome and what's unwholesome. But we really have the sense, because if we just look within ourselves, or we pay attention, to how we feel, then we can immediately recognise, if I'm generous, first parami, if I practice dana, if I'm giving, if I'm generous, it feels great. It feels really good. Like the two of you coming and helping out with the pond, coming and doing a job. How's it feel? Well, a bit cold actually, maybe. Maybe it didn't work out perfectly, I have no idea. There can be mixed feelings, but overall a feeling of, I put myself out, and I came over and I helped out, just out of goodness. Great feeling. and second parami, sila, virtue, morality. And I love the word sila. I love it. I love sila. We do good and we feel good. And we see other people doing good and we feel great for them. And we can celebrate that. Right speech, right action, and right livelihood. And just really rejoicing in that. And the Buddha gave all the guidance around that. Great detailed guidance. How to really avoid not doing good. Because we're quite naturally good, in fact. In Buddhism, that is a given, that we have a natural goodness. It gets obscured, just as our mind is naturally very bright and radiant. The chitta, the heart, it's very pure, clear. But it can get obscured by ignorance, and it's our job. So we have this purpose, in a sense, to see where there's, it's a bit difficult actually, see where there's ignorance. It's difficult to see ignorance, but to begin to explore where we may be confused, where we may be deceiving ourselves or a little bit deluded about life, and to break through these obscurations, break through, the chitta's shining like the sun, perpetually, and the obscurations are like the clouds. And through following, the Eightfold Path, we have all the tools, all the resources at our disposal to see our way, and to really, develop great well-being, great sense of ease, peace, and also letting go, which is the third parami, nekama, renunciation. It's a very big part of the path, isn't it? And fortunately, a lot of what we're asked to let go of, what we need to let go of, are things we don't want to hold on to anyway, if we have any sense, Do we want to hold on to our sense of ownership of things? Not really. It's a burden, it's a weight, it's a worry, The more we have, the more we feel, we can feel anxious about what we have. So I'm not saying give all your possessions away tomorrow. I mean, it would be great, actually. But, maybe not practical for everybody. Or maybe it's a process that needs to take a bit of time. But not that, no. But rather one can let go internally. So what I have, what I own, the solid bricks and mortar, or what would it be here? Cedar wood and stone. Our homes, our possession, all the stuff that's in our homes that we need, useful stuff. Not to give it all away necessarily, but to not be holding on to it too tightly. And we can investigate that. And what can really help us to notice, how much we might be holding on to material things, is just to give some of them away and see how it feels. Give some away, and if it feels a bit difficult, that's okay. But we can just notice, well, yes, I'm attached to this and that, and then we can investigate that. What is it I'm actually attaching to? What is it? Maybe it's a beautiful painting or something, So what is it about it that I need to have it here in my house? And nothing wrong with that again, but it's just to investigate what exactly is it, and what does it feel like, and to really look at renunciation inside. So to be able to, with wisdom, which is another parami, with the eye of wisdom, just to see how does it feel? How does it feel to really want to hold on to something and to cherish it? It's natural that people do this sort of thing, but how does it really feel? And actually for me, when I really look at that, the things that I cherish, material things I'm talking about right now, it's actually rather sad. I can feel very sad because what I know is that at some point I'm going to lose it, and we know that. So whatever it is, it's going to at some point either decay, disintegrate, wear and tear, wear out in some way, always going to break, or someone might steal it from me, or at the end of the day I'm going to die and then I can't take it with me. So one way or another, it's on the way out, And so what I feel when I'm really looking at things that I cherish, material things, is sad for myself, because I'm bound to lose them, and then I'm going to suffer. So then the question is, should I suffer now or should I suffer later? And again, you don't necessarily have to give it to somebody else or throw it in the dustbin, but you can just notice and let go of it now. Let go of it now. And we can literally work our way around our homes or, our possessions and just investigate. Because letting go is joy, letting go is peace, letting go is freedom, and the lightness that one can experience then is quite palpable. And then when it comes to people, it's not so dissimilar really. With people it's interesting, isn't it? Because we can't really own people, but we sort of try to sometimes, don't we? And we sort of want people to be a certain way. We want them to be like they should be, as far as we're concerned. And they often disappoint, don't they? They often don't provide, meet our needs. They don't meet our needs. So really it's very, very healthy and helpful to look at that. And it's really good actually if people don't meet our needs. That's really fortunate for us, because it's better really to be independent, in the sense that we're not expecting things of others. We're not demanding things. We're not even very unconsciously just requiring certain things from other people, because it's ultimately not very kind. What's really kind is to let people be who they are. But it's difficult. It's not always easy for us, is it? Because we depend upon each other. But the Buddha said, his parting words, the end of his 45 years of ministry, of teaching, what were his parting words, his last words to the huge number of people, it would seem, who were gathered around him? Be like an island unto yourselves. Be like an island. Be independent. Don't put your hopes and wishes in others, onto others. The greatest gift we can give each other is to be independent. And then we can really give. We can give, because we're coming from a place of there's no lack. There's nothing missing. And then we can be really truly generous. First parami again. Generosity can come. And so this renunciation in terms of other people, I would suggest, what's just in my mind at the moment is one way of looking at that is to let go of our expectations and our requirements, whatever they may be. And we can investigate that and see what do I expect from this person or that person, and what happens if I don't get it. We can notice on a daily basis, can't we? Expectations are constantly being thwarted because people change, we change, Our expectations are not necessarily realistic. And in fact, to have an expectation at all isn't realistic. Expectations don't help, because it's like you're projecting something into the future. So to really let each other go, how do we really renounce dependence upon one another? For me, it takes me to the present moment. It's like, do I know you? Some of you I'm fortunate to be meeting for the first time. Some of you I've met before a few times. Some people I know really well. my family, long-term relationships. Do I really know you? Do I really know these people? Do I really know my partner? Do I really know my friends? Not really. We don't really, do we? How can we? How can we? Do we know ourselves? Do I know? Do I know what I'm going to be doing tomorrow? How I'm going to be thinking and feeling? Mm-mm. We don't. So there's nothing we can really say that we know about other people. And can we meet them afresh? Can we meet them afresh in every moment? As if we're just meeting for the first time, because actually we are. That's the truth. Because everything that's not of this present moment is an expectation or an idea from the past. And it's tinged then with delusion. It's not real. So to renounce others, for me, and to renounce material things for that matter, is to be present. Be present. And when we're present, we know that we don't know. We know that we don't know. We know that there's no knowing, and there's no holding on to anything. Everything's passing by, just like the water in this amazing natural bridge. Wow, the flow, they're so fast, it's flowing so fast, you can't see the individual drops. Impossible. It's just this extraordinary flow. And if we can step back and just look at the flow, then we're seeing something a bit more clearly. So to allow ourselves to be a flow, and to allow other people to also be a flow, frees us up no end. This nekama, this parami of renunciation, we can see it in this way, you know. We can also see it in terms of sila, in terms of the letting go of the unwholesome. So helpful for us. Most of the Buddha's teachings on sila, on virtue, are all about what you don't do, as I said, rather than what you need to do. Because if we just stop doing the things that are unskillful, then we're bound to do the things that are skillful. And Sanghamitra had a brilliant question the other day. What's supramundane and what's mundane? And I looked it up. And I was pleased to discover, because I wasn't sure at all what it meant. Mundane virtue is to simply try to work to give up the taints, the defilements, to give up our tendencies to do things that are unwholesome. And if we manage to do that, then we start to walk the supramundane path, where there are no defilements. And when there are no defilements, in the arahant, in somebody who's fully liberated, it's impossible to do anything harmful. So the natural state again of the mind is that it's always going to flow in the wholesome direction, and wholesome results will always follow. Or wholesome, you could say wholesome, like manifestations will happen. One can be walking through the world harmlessly, and actually there's no karma being made, there's no result of that. So to have no result is to be entirely without any possibility of unwholesome action. So our work in terms of sila, in terms of cultivating virtue, is to simply avoid harm. Avoid harm. And the Buddha gave the very, the precepts, the very clear guidance. Avoid killing. Well, avoid any kind of harm to any living being. Avoid stealing. Well, avoid any kind of taking of what's not given. Taking of what's not given. Let's avoid that. Let's honour and respect one another's possessions, space, needs, as much as we can perceive them. There are so many ways we can refine these precepts. Avoid sexual misconduct. Avoid disrespecting others. Kind of viewing each other as physical forms, first and foremost. How horrible, how degrading, What is this? I mean, really, do we want to relate to each other as attractive or unattractive bodies. I mean, maybe we do, but to me it's one aspect maybe, but there's so much more in relationship to really cherish and, make much of. Respect, mutual appreciation, helping, supporting one another, truthfulness, to be really truthful with one another. And that's a work, that's another parami, truthfulness. I'm going through these paramis, it seems, in a very peculiar order. I wonder if I'll cover them all. Trying to think now, what have I missed out? But I think I've said most of them, except the last two, and I'll come to those later. So yeah, cultivating virtue is to renounce the unwholesome. And speech is a very good area. I talked about it last week, but just a little recap, because truth's in my mind now. To be honest, to avoid dishonesty, to avoid deception, in any way, however subtle. It's a real workout, I find. Speech is very tricky, because it's so quick. It comes out and then it's, I've said it now. But one can review what has been said and learn a great deal about ourselves in that way. So nothing's lost, actually. But to try and keep a wholesome speech, to be honest, and to explore that, to really explore again and again. Have I been sincere? Is there a kind of sense of integrity? Do I actually know what I'm saying? Do I know what I'm thinking? We need to kind of know ourselves to some degree, don't we, in order to be really sincere and to have a sense of integration here. Then we can put out that integrity. So it's a big area, actually, this area of truth and what is true. And of course we can't expect to know completely what is and what isn't true, because we're not fully liberated yet. We don't have clear vision, but we are developing it. We are working on it. And so this exploration of truth is almost like the path itself, isn't it? It's like it refines, it grows, it changes over time. Sometimes it can be like a sort of zigzag effect. It's not necessarily a straight line. I can wake up one day, or I can be sitting rather more often. Sometimes just wake up one day. Or I can be meditating and I can have a sudden realization, oh my goodness, I've been deceiving myself all this time about this or that. I've been seeing myself in a certain light, and actually that's not. We can have these little revelations, can't we? And then we realise the truth wasn't that. The truth is other than that. This feels more correct, right? And actually over time we can get to realise that our whole path is a process of seeing it's other than that. And the Buddha actually gave a teaching on that in the Majjhima, one of the suttas in Majjhima Nikaya. Brilliant teaching. He said basically, the truth is always other than that. So whatever we think, perceive, remember, know, the truth is always other than that. And just to consider that, just to put that little question mark, just a little question mark next to all our cherished views, opinions, ideas, sense of who we are, etc., sense of the other, can be a really helpful practice to watch our thoughts, to help us to watch our thoughts, what's more, is to bring up the question mark. Is it really so? Is that right? Are you sure? And one of Ajahn Chah's most famous and frequent teachings is a very short one, my nair. He would say that again and again. Not sure. It means not sure. Not sure. And actually if we bring that in, then we can really start to investigate satya, truth, and develop this parami of truth, truthfulness, through investigation. Not sure. I really love that. I really love that, because that can help us to be very sharp. How do we practice so that we're not just, coming and meditating and then getting up and just off we go, we're on the wheel, back into samsara, dive in. How do we live our lives so that we're constantly mindful, constantly actually on the spiritual path, constantly investigating Dharma? And this is one of the ways that we can do this. Just keep bringing it in, like a mantra. Not sure, question mark. Everything. Because in the Hindu tradition, they have this also, the neti approach. Not this, not that. We just keep observing reality through whichever sense door it comes in, whichever khandha we're looking at, body, perception, feelings, thoughts, consciousness. Whatever we're experiencing, it has to be within these kind of diameters, paradigms. Whatever we're experiencing in whatever moment, just to bring in, not this, not that, this isn't it, this isn't me, this isn't mine. That's another good reflection, that really, not me, not mine, not myself, not sure, not this, not that, all these negatives. But they keep us sharp, they keep us watching. We're watching the mind then. We're watching ourselves all the time. So this can be extremely helpful. So Satya Parami, we can keep developing it then in every moment, in every activity, at work, sitting at work, just popping it in every now and then. Not sure. I think I'll just finish by talking about the last two parami. I think I've mentioned all the others. I'm going to go through them. The first is dana, giving, generosity. Letting go is the third. The second is sila, virtue. They go together, these, don't they? Generosity, virtue and letting go, in just the ways that I've described, like a triad. And then wisdom and effort and patience. Patience is a very good one. I'm glad I've remembered that, because to be patient with ourselves is so important. You hear the teachings. I'm saying we should be doing this, we try that, do this, do the other. We might go away and just forget all about it, and that's okay. It's like we just try, we just give our best to the practice, but not to make ourselves too stressed about it, not to beat ourselves up if we don't manage to do today what we feel we should have done, live as well as we should have lived in the past, or manage our meditation, manage to get sitting and practicing meditation. Patience is a really important one. I think of patience in terms of kindness to oneself, and not adding to our suffering needlessly with self-recrimination, self-judgment. Patience is to let that go and just to be willing to be where we're at. We're all striving to better ourselves, I'm quite sure, but to be patient with the process and not to expect too much, but just to be willing to let things take time, to let time do its work. We're not in control, actually. If only we could just choose to, get liberated at a certain point, but we can't. So patience is such an important quality. And also I think of patience in terms of anger, in terms of when negativity arises, coming back to sila again, when there are unwholesome qualities, when there are unwholesome thoughts, patience with that, just the willingness to be still with that, and just to wait, almost just to wait, just to give time, not to act, keep the sila, and not to act on negativity, but to have patience, patiently endure, And then these things will always pass, just given time. And that quality of waiting. Waiting not for it to finish, actually. Just being willing to be here with whatever we're experiencing. So this Ten Paramis, patience, really important virtue. And then I spoke about Satya. I spoke about Adhitthana, which is determination. And it's interesting, there's a place for both patience and kindness and also a certain effort and determination. So you see how these parami balance each other out so beautifully. And we can tell for ourselves when we need to ease up, be kind, be patient, support ourselves. Bring in the 9th parami, metta. Bring in loving kindness. We know when that's needed. And we can also know when it's good to sharpen up, make an effort and determine to, say, meditate every day. That requires a certain, sometimes, often, determination and energy. So just really considering the parami, the virtues, and how they work together so beautifully and how they can balance one another. And the final parami is upekkha, equanimity. It's like the culmination of virtue. It's the culmination of the path, really. The Brahma Viharas, the divine abidings, it's the final one of those. It's the final bojjhanga, factor of liberation. And it's the last of the 10 Paramis. So this wonderful quality just comes in again and again, and it's always the sort of pinnacle in all the groups in which it's found. Equanimity. And really, I don't know what else to say about equanimity. I think it just develops with the path. It develops with all the parami. It develops with our practice. And it's the quality of unshakability, of calm. And don't we all develop that in our meditation practice? So here we sit, 30 minutes, hour, however long it is, and we put a timer out there somewhere, and we're here. And this quality develops because if we're just willing to do that much, just to sit with ourselves, be with ourselves, undistractedly, nothing else to do, then we're bound to suffer. It's bound to be challenging, and this quality of equanimity will grow. And it has this tremendous aspect of sensitivity, great intimacy with what's experienced. Very present, very aware, very awake. And isn't it wonderful how actually the more awake we are, the more calm and peaceful we can become. And the more calm and peaceful we become through our practice, the more sensitive we can be. And the more we can take on, the more we can perceive around us, because we have that ability to just observe, just be with. It's not indifference at all. It's the opposite of indifference. We're here. And just to be here is something rather wonderful, isn't it? And to keep cultivating this presence through our following the Eightfold Path. And I would say we could also now consider these 10 Paramis. Bring them in, grow them. All we have to do to grow them is pay attention to them and just give heart to them and watch them grow, So I think that's enough from me. We've got 10 minutes.
Andamayandamakathaya sadhu karandaramase sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. So I have a question.
Please, yeah.
So when you were mentioning about being an island unto ourselves and not relying on others, I was just thinking of this board meeting that we had last night with Ahimsa, and I thought, well, we came together as a group to work towards establishing this monastery and maintaining it. So there feels like there is a reliance on others and an expectation. And so can you comment on that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, what comes to my mind when you ask that question is, what is right action? Right action, because we're all acting in the world. We're all manifesting in the world. And so the relationship with what we do and, all the good things, all the good projects and all the coming together, as you say, and supporting one another and making things happen as a group, as a community. These things are absolutely tremendous, wonderful to be done. But how do we do them? And, so what comes to my mind is how the Buddha spoke about what is right action. And actually, right action, it encompasses all these parami that I've just been talking about and the virtues, including the letting go. And so actually, and I talked about being present. And so for me, it's really apparent actually that the way to enable good to happen in the world is to be able to hold very lightly to the past, to the future, and be very present and keep cultivating the good qualities. And then whatever comes, that's, whatever it is, it will tend to be quite good results. And an important part of that maybe is to, when we focus on the present, doing what we can do now and how we come together now and how we can relate together now. And of course that can involve planning for the future, but really noting that it's what's happening now that's really important. And whatever comes next is not really in our hands. So to have no great expectations of the results.
Oh, okay.
So that can be very difficult sometimes for us, because to do good with an expectation for a result, with a particular time frame in mind, or hopes of some kind or another, tends to create suffering. But we can be really free and really active and really have a lot of, manifest very much in the world, best if we're not actually really here at all. There's nothing that's of the past or the future. There's just the, in a way, intention to be harmless, intention to let go. Those are the most important intentions we can have. And then results can take care of themselves. And Jesus said it. I was brought up Catholic, so I often think of the words of Jesus, because the Dharma of Jesus, and he said, give no thought to the morrow, to the next day, And if we start to give thought to the future, we've lost the present. So I would say that is a way to work together and really celebrate all the good things, but to be always giving priority to our state of mind, attitude, intention, and that means being present. Yeah, just some thoughts. Any other questions, reflections, comments?
Yeah, I have a question. One of many regarding being reborn. So, of course, I haven't met everybody in the world, but I would say that everybody, including myself, is either actually both flawed and imperfect. And so that's in the context of, what's the point in being reborn as a human being? And if we can't figure this out, and in some cases things keep getting worse, and then there's sort of moments of oh, we figured it out, but then we quickly reverse back to the same old, bad things that keep getting us in in bad situations. What's sort of the point?
Thank you for that question. Why be reborn? And I take that to have two meanings. Why come back again after death? Why come back? And the other is why be reborn right now? Why continue with this, whatever this is? And I think that's such a poignant question, because there's no reason to do that. There's no good reason. What's really good to do is to let go. Let go of the sense of self, really. Let go of the sense of self, and try and actually direct the attention on what's happening now. And it's true what you say. It's probably true for every single person who's listening and here in the room with me here at the monastery, that we do find, we might improve in some regard, say with our speech. We might become more skillful one day, and the next day we completely blow it and we feel really disheartened. I thought I understood how to, navigate this, and I've lost the plot. And in all sorts of different ways this can happen for us, so we can feel like we're taking sort of 2 steps forward and 3 steps back sometimes. What's the point? I would say, there is purpose, really, in the sense that we can really understand, one of the aspects of right view, the Buddha said, is to appreciate that there is cause and effect, so that, harmful things lead to suffering. Harmful acts or thoughts or words lead to suffering. Equally, harmless, helpful, supportive, beneficial words, thoughts and acts lead to happiness. And it's pretty clear, really, whether there's a future or not, whether we, have to go up or down, whether we're reborn or not. Right now, that is true. And so which way do you want to go? And we have a life. It's a very precious thing, actually, to have a human birth, a human rebirth, because we have the capacity to understand the Buddha's teachings, to practice. We have the capacity to really transform, to really transform suffering into happiness. That's incredible. We have that capacity. That's worth doing. And so to really I think to ask the question, what is the point? It's a really good question. And it's something to investigate and keep investigating for yourself. And purpose will come, I suspect. It will sort of come to you in ways. Follow your joy, follow your happiness, and be careful to really notice what truly makes you happy, and what truly nourishes your heart. And I would really study the Dharma, the Buddha's teachings, because there's a very clear map, if you like. It's a map that's pointing the way to increasing well-being. And so you can investigate that and try it out. But I would say that there is a purpose to doing good and avoiding harm. And there's definitely a purpose to purifying the heart, the mind. And we have to experience the results of that to know, to sense that this is a good direction to move in. But I really hear you, and I hear that it's challenging at times. And I would say just keep coming back to hear the Dharma and practice meditation, practice the Buddha's teachings, and let them be your guide, Anything you'd like to come back on that?
Yeah, no, thanks for that. That was really, I appreciate the response. Well, I have tons, but but I guess with the human existence, there's a level of consciousness. I don't know about other beings, but there's a level of consciousness, and we can process speech and language and logic and emotions and everything. So I feel like I can comprehend and work through these things. Is it, and it seems complicated because there's a lot to consider and work through. Is it easier as a different being, or do we just as humans make things complicated to figure this out? Or just, yeah,
Thank you.
thoughts on that.
Yeah, thank you for that. I'll just try and be fairly brief because we're out of time. But I really appreciate that exploration. And yeah, I would say again, the Buddha actually said human birth, human rebirth is the most fortunate. I mean, all the Buddhas were human beings. And the reason that it's a very fortunate rebirth is because we have just the right sort of degree or the balance between suffering and happiness. We can really suffer, we can really experience joy. If we're born in higher planes of existence, we're so happy, it's also wonderful that we can really forget about suffering. So there's a kind of ignorance that comes in, and it's very difficult to practice. But inevitably, we have to leave those higher planes of existence. So it's not an easy way forward spiritually. And equally, if we're in a lower plane of existence, there's so much more suffering that, again, we don't really have the time or opportunity to develop ourselves spiritually. So to be a human being is said to be the most fortunate, auspicious birth to have. And it behooves us then to make the most of it, make the most of every moment. This is really awesome. And it may, who knows what comes next. So let's really try and practice well. I can't quite remember if there was something else you said. I was going to come back with something else, but it's escaped me. I'm sorry. I hope that's okay for now.
That's okay. Yes, thank you.
So I think we need to close now. But if people have time, maybe we can finish with just a short, just a minute or two of meditation together. I'll ring the gong after a couple of minutes. Thank you all for your kind attention and wise reflection.